Close your eyes for a second. Imagine being born into a world where death isn't hidden. There are no hospitals, no funeral homes, no quiet goodbyes. Instead, you grow up watching bodies burned in public. You see organs removed by priests. You hear chants while people are sacrificed. And no one calls it horror. They call it tradition. Tonight, we're uncovering the farewell rituals humanity tried to erase. Ceremonies so intense, so intimate, that people didn't just prepare for death. They rehearsed it. Before we talk about violence, before we talk about sacrifice, we have to start with a civilization that turned dying into a lifelong project. A place where children learned about embalming before adulthood, where nobles ordered their coffins decades in advance, where death wasn't feared. It was scheduled. Welcome to ancient Egypt. In Egypt, death was not an ending. It was immigration. They believed the soul was split into parts, fragments of consciousness that needed a physical anchor to survive eternity. If your body rotted, you ceased to exist. So preservation wasn't symbolic. It was survival. When someone died, specialists began a 70-day process that feels more like surgery than burial. First came the brain. A metal hook was pushed through the nostril. The brain was stirred into liquid, then slowly drained. No anesthesia, no dignity, just precision. Next, a blade cut into the abdomen. The lungs, stomach, liver, and intestines were removed and placed in sacred containers. Only the heart stayed behind, believed to carry memory and morality. Then the corpse was washed in palm wine, packed with natron salt, and left to dry for 40 days. Skin tightened, eyes collapsed, fingers curled inward. This wasn't accidental decay. This was engineered transformation. Here's what makes this disturbing. Wealthy Egyptians didn't wait to die before preparing. They commissioned tomb paintings while still healthy. They ordered their coffins while raising children. Some even attended rehearsals of their own funerals. You could walk past construction sites where neighbors were building their personal eternity. Imagine designing your grave while planning next year's harvest. That was normal. Entire families gathered to inspect burial chambers. Artists painted scenes of feasts the dead would enjoy forever. Priests trained heirs on how to speak to the corpse. Death was integrated into daily life, not avoided. But Egypt believed preservation saved the soul. Other cultures believed something darker. They believed spirits needed violence. Which brings us to a society where funerals included combat, where grief was measured in blood. In early Rome, death wasn't quiet. It was theatrical. Elite funerals often involved staged fights. Not entertainment at first. Offerings. Originally, servants were buried alive beside their masters so they wouldn't be lonely in the afterlife. Later, this evolved into gladiatorial combat. Men fought to the death beside tombs. Blood spilled onto fresh graves. The belief? The deceased absorbed the life force. Imagine mourning your father while watching two strangers kill each other for his comfort. That was considered respectful. Roman funerals moved through the streets. Actors wore wax masks of dead ancestors. Family members carried the body. Crowds watched silently. Then the games began. These weren't stadium events yet. They happened at burial sites. Raw, close, intimate. Over time, this ritual morphed into full gladiator spectacles. But it started with one idea. The dead needed violence to rest. Now let's talk about something even stranger. What happens when someone dies unmarried? In some cultures, they don't stay single. In parts of China, dying alone was considered catastrophic. An unmarried spirit was thought to wander endlessly. So families arranged marriages for the dead. Yes, dead men were given wives. Dead women were matched with husbands. Paper figures were sometimes used, but often real corpses. Families paid intermediaries to locate compatible bodies. Graves were robbed. Cemeteries were monitored. A hidden economy formed around dead brides. There are documented cases of murders committed specifically to provide a body for these spiritual weddings. Picture this: a funeral where two coffins are brought together. Incense burns. Vows are spoken. and the deceased are officially united. Not for romance, for cosmic balance. Parents believe this spared their children eternal loneliness. Love was engineered, even after death. But nothing compares to what happened in the frozen north, where death arrived on burning ships, and loyalty meant dying together. Among Norse societies in Norway, high-ranking individuals were placed inside boats filled with weapons, food, and treasures. Animals were slaughtered beside them. Sometimes slaves were added. One historical account describes a woman who volunteered to accompany her master. She drank alcohol, sang, then was stabbed repeatedly while chanting. Her body was placed beside the corpse. The ship was set ablaze. Flames rose into the sky. Smoke carried their souls. To them, this wasn't cruelty. It was honor. Dying alone was shameful. Dying together was glorious. Now here's the part nobody likes to admit. None of these people thought they were doing anything wrong. Children grew up watching these rituals. Parents taught them. Entire societies agreed this was normal, which means something unsettling. If you had been born there, you wouldn't resist. You'd prepare your organs. You'd expect blood at funerals. You'd accept fire as loyalty. Culture shapes morality, not instinct. We like to think we're different, but humans adapt to whatever world they're handed, even one built on ritualized death. Every pyramid, every sacrifice, every burning ship, they all come from the same place. Fear of vanishing, fear of being forgotten. So people preserved bodies. They spilled blood. They married ghosts, all to convince themselves that consciousness continues. Tonight, when you turn off the lights, remember this. Millions before you practice dying, they built eternity with their hands. And deep down, we're still trying to do the same. Sleep well. They spilled blood. They married ghosts, all to convince themselves that consciousness continues. Tonight, when you turn off the lights, remember this. Millions before you practice dying, they built eternity with their hands. And deep down, we're still trying to do the same. Sleep well.